We're here with Daune Thompson, and I have this burning question. So we have this innate part of ourselves that is the fight or flight. I'm sure there's a way more technical term for it. I just can't think of it right now. But I'm curious, Daune, why you've talked about this ego? Why do we have it? What purpose is having an ego? Is there one?
How do you come up with these questions?
I don't know.
What purpose is ego? So we're obviously born with, the conscious brain and the subconscious brain, and ego is subconscious. And ego is given to us, or I should say we've evolved with an ego to remind us to eat, sleep, and drink, basically. Which ego kind of sits there and says, all right, if you don't eat, you don't sleep, or you don't drink, you will die. So ego has this attachment to dying. It's afraid of dying. And because ego is so patterned into forcing you to do things, which is when it's really good. Obviously, we want people to have water and to have sleep. That's what heals their spirit when they're in their bodies when they're sleeping, So and fueling their bodies with food. That's a normal ego response. That's when we want it to override the system. The challenge is that ego gets patterned when we're young. It starts getting used to learning whatever we learn in bad habits from probably 0 to 7 to 10 years of age. I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not fit enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not successful enough, or I didn't do something well, which is what we're taught as children. And we usually pick these things up, these patterns, these bad habits when we're a child. So when we pick those habits up, ego gets used to doing it a certain way and says, okay, that's how we do it? Cool. Well, now ego has a hard time differentiating between water and a bad habit. It just knows if we do this all the time, we're good to go and you're not going to die. And it means if you don't die, it doesn't die. And it is absolutely on a mission not to die. Because if it dies, you die. So when I find people, struggling, we call this the shadow beast. And I call ego the shadow beast because it's hard to see an ego, but if you think of it as a beast, it's that inner voice that starts saying, something like, I'm going to be abandoned. This person doesn't like me. Oh my gosh, they're not calling. They're not talking. My husband, he's gone. He's doing something wrong. He's abandoning me. So then the ego starts kicking in from inner child, or when you were a child, saying, hey, this is what's wrong. Is it true? No. But it will do anything in its power to find situations to remind you that you are going to be abandoned, because it's habitually patterned to do that, because it doesn't differentiate between abandonment and water. So we have to take control of ego and understand that when you can bring it to a conscious attention, saying, I see you, abandonment beast. I see you, ego, which is the beast. I'm not going to feed you anymore. I'm not going to feed you something that is no longer true for me anymore. But we just don't know it's there until we're aware of it.
So is it possible to silence your ego forever?
Well, you don't need to silence it. It's just the awareness of it. So what happens is we're all walking around basically unconscious until you decide to become a conscious being and saying, I will allow ego to remind me to eat, sleep, and drink. But if you're allowing it to make you feel abandoned and not successful and not beautiful, which every soul and human being you meet has a beautiful spirit inside of them. But we miss the beauty because ego is patterned. And if you can just tell it, I see you. It's like Cookie Monster, right? When we were young, everybody knows Cookie Monster. He'd do anything for Cookie. I just want a cookie. So he would do anything to get fed that cookie. Well, that's what the beast wants. I'll do anything to get fed something to make me feel abandonment because that's what I'm patterned into. So by just saying, I see you, abandonment beast, and I'm not feeding you a cookie, that's where we start going, oh, I don't have to live like that anymore? No. So then you can go have, I am loved, and I do have a committed husband, and I do deserve this long-term, joyful, someone who stands up and is completely committed and faithful. There's the opposite.
Cool.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Did I explain that well?
Awesome. No more cookies.
No cookie.
No cookie.